As promised, I'm going to talk to all of you fine people out there watching about my opinion regarding season 5 of Legends of Tomorrow and just Legends in general. Legends of Tomorrow is the most underwatched and underappreciated show on television. Come at me. Yeah, in my opinion, it is the most underrated show on TV, and it is one that could definitely use more eyeballs on it. So when you look at the ratings per season, season 1 it had a rating of 1.2. 3.16 million average per episode. Season 2, 0.9 down to 2.57 million. Season 3, it dropped to 0.8, 2.24 million. Last year, it dropped to 0.5 on the ratings, 1.49 million, and this year, 0.4, 1.35 million. It's been renewed for season 6, and again, it's a mid-season, so it'll be next summer when it comes back. So I have plenty of time to try to build up the show. For people who haven't watched it, you have lots of time to get caught up over a year. And there's 82 episodes. So they don't do like really long drawn out seasons. And it is a testament to the idea that maybe the shorter seasons are better. And Legends is a good example of how maybe the shorter seasons are better. Because it doesn't drag. There aren't very many episodes you can look at and go, well, I can come back later. Good example is those episodes that start with a chase or they start with something you're like, what's going on here? And then 12 hours earlier, 24 hours earlier, as soon as I see that in an episode of a TV show, I know I can skip it. Every single time I know I can just skip it because it's like, there's just my jinx. Let's see how they got here. Really? Okay, I'll just skip it. Or I just go right up to the end of that episode because I don't care. And again, it depends on the show and it depends on the episode, but more often than not, if I see 12 hours earlier, 24 hours earlier, I know nothing of consequence is going to happen there. I just have to get up to what's happening at the end. So I want to talk about all the characters because this is a show where the characters are important and they change. And yet some of them, for me, I don't know. So you've got Sarah. Sarah is a character this year. I think she had a good year overall, but Sarah, to me, I have some questions about her relationship with Ava and where are they going with it? Because, I mean, it's fine and it's progressive and all this, but where is it going? Because Ava as a character, I think this year has kind of taken a bit of a dive and Sarah's fine. Now, Ava not being the stuffed suit anymore is fine, except that was kind of her thing. So now she's just kind of Sarah's girlfriend. And when they're like, oh, we're co-captains, I'm like, are you though? Are you really? Because I'm pretty sure Sarah's the one in charge. Unless they would kill Sarah off, but they're not going to do it. They did that and then they didn't. So they're like, oh, look, we might kill her off. And then, no, they didn't. And I don't know that I understand how that happened. I'm like, wait, so she's alive again? How? Why? Oh, whatever, because sci-fi reasons. It's all fine. It's all fine. Charlie fixed it. Did she though? But anyways, yeah. So Sarah, Ava for me takes a bit of a nosedive this year. You know what? Nate for me was stagnant this year. Nate last year, of course, the whole storyline with his father, who they killed off. I don't understand. I know he was going to be a villain, and then they decided not to make him a villain because he was too beloved, and so he played the role too well. And they're like, yeah, we got to build him up. And then they killed him off. But Nate didn't really have a storyline this year other than he missed Zari. And they just yanked that away. They're like, yeah, so Nate's looking for Zari. She's back, so let's talk a little bit about Zari. Zari's back, and then she's gone. So, to me, Zari 1.0 is the question mark. And 2.0, and I mentioned this in the video yesterday, for me, she's a remarkable downgrade in Zari as a character. Again, it sort of feels like over on Flash where you have a different Wells every year. And now they've settled on Nash, the least interesting of the Wells other than Sherlock. Sherlock was kind of cringy. But why didn't they just settle on the Earth 2 version of Wells? The Earth 2 version of Wells was great. And absolutely great character. And the whole storyline with his daughter was really well done. But And I feel like Zari 2.0 is the far less interesting and less useful character of the Zari universe. And yet, if you noticed, at the end of the finale there, Constantine here had his arm around Zari, so they're a thing. And I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Now, I'm going to say this for Constantine. Notice John's in brackets. I can't just put John on there because people are like, John who? And I can't just put Constantine because then people on the internet go, if his first name isn't Constantine, you know that, right? Yeah, I know. So John Constantine, for me, got better as a character this year. I liked what they did with him. I liked that he was the central figure for most of the season. And I thought he was interesting, but I do think he needs his own show. Now, if eventually it's going to be the Constantine and Zuri show, I'm not doing it. But if Constantine eventually on CW gets his own show, or even his own web series, so if he gets his own web series, I'm fine with that too. I think it could be really, really well done. And so I'm hoping with Constantine that with them fighting aliens this coming season, what was that about? That hopefully either he makes his exit to his own project, or maybe they make some sort of a change. I don't know. How does Constantine fight aliens? Is he going to do spells against aliens? Did Constantine in the comics ever deal with aliens? I'm pretty sure it was just devil stuff. I'm telling you, get the Constantine Supernatural Lucifer crossover, and I could be a happy man. Charlie has made her exit. Charlie, for me, as a character this year, static. I mean, she was gone for portions of the season, and then, I'm a fate, and I'm a god, and I don't know. Just kind of for me. Charlie, the fact that she's left the show now, okay. And she goes right back to being a lead singer of the worst band name ever, The Smells. It's bad. And then you hear a character over here saying, "Oh, I love that band." No, you don't. Why are they shoehorning this in? The whole band thing is weird. But okay, so Charlie makes her exit. She's off the ship, and they're bringing some other new female character in who apparently has something to do with the aliens. So Sarah's being put there as a plot device to meet this character and free her and bring her to the Wave Rider. Which might be it for aliens. Maybe we don't have a season where we're fighting with aliens. Maybe that's just where you start, and then you go from there. And I'm not sure. I mean, they fixed the Encores thing now, right? So that's gone. I don't know. Gary, honestly, Gary for me is a giant question mark. I don't know that I would want Gary on the ship regularly. I don't know that I would want that. I think Gary, because he is basically just comic relief, I don't know that I want to see Gary as a regular on the Wave Rider. But he's in enough episodes that he needs to be on the board. And he's an interesting enough character that maybe you can make the argument Gary could be on the Wave Rider more often. But of course, Gary was being trained by Constantine. Do Constantine and Gary eventually get their own show? I'm not sure that would work either. I don't know. And Gary's one of those guys too that he could make his exit, and I don't know that people necessarily would make a big deal of it. Mick. So, something interesting happened this season. Mick became my favorite character. Mick, I've always enjoyed Mick. I've always thought he has some of the best lines. But this year, the stuff with the time travel bit, and then him, running into his own daughter, great stuff. And the ex-girlfriend from that timeline as well. I'd kind of like to see more of the dynamic between him and the girlfriend that he fathered the daughter with, and obviously we'll get to the daughter at some point too. But Mick, for me, as a character, became much more well-rounded and a much better character. And the romance writing part has always been kind of funny, but now that he's moved on kind of past that, and we've got some other stuff with him, I really like what they're doing with Mick. I think Mick Rory is a great character. Do not take him off the Wave Rider. Don't do it. Because that's something they could do at the start of next season. He could be like, "Well, guys, it's been great. But me and my muscles here and my daughter, we're gonna leave because I'm happy now, so I don't need to be on the Wave Rider." At that point, I start freaking out. There are characters who've left the Wave Rider that I've been upset about, and there were a couple this year, and we'll get to it. Mona's a giant question mark for me because she turned into a werewolf, and then there was the whole storyline. This year she's just now she's the romance writer. I don't know. She's just sort of there every now and then. Sort of like they bring her in just to remind us, hey, remember Mona? Yeah, we still have the actress under contract. Just so you know. Just as an FYI, she's still here. Congratulations, Mona. Bayrod. Bayrod, I'm going to say this. He did get better as the season went along. He does still have that Roy characteristic. That is a Simpsons reference to, of course, when Roy was in the house, the Poochie thing. He's not Poochie, but he's kind of Roy, where he's kind of there. And yet, if they said, well, Bayrod's not here this week, he'd go, oh yeah, right, yeah, Bayrod. The relationship between him and Nate is fun and all, but I kind of thought we were going to lose Bayrod at the end of the season and get Zuri 1.0 back. I thought that's where they were headed. But the character did get better as the season went along. So I can't complain too much about a character that did get better as the season went on. And I'm hopeful that maybe something of depth occurs with him this year. Maybe he decides, you know what, I'm not going to let my sister throw herself back into the totem. I have to find a way to bring her back and do it in such a way. Maybe he needs Constantine for that, where they come up with some kind of a spell that Constantine can do to bring Zuri back. And then, I don't know, maybe you piggyback a demon along with her. Something different, right? Something a little bit different. And Nate has his girlfriend back, but once every couple of weeks, her head spins around a few times and she flings him into the ceiling. Something like that. But he's made of metal, so it's fine. He can handle it. Ray and Nora, their exit, I think, was poor. And I think it was poorly handled because both Ray and Nora, I thought, got better as the season went along. And not only that, Nora Dark, her comic timing, and I mean, both, the character, the way it's written, and the actress, fantastic. When she was the fairy godmother, some of that stuff was absolutely hilarious, and I got a real kick out of it. And the Ray and Nora stuff, the way that they had the slow burn going on last season into the two of them becoming an item was great. And then this season, they're just gone. So I don't like the way they left. Brandon Routh, who played Ray, has come out and said he doesn't like how they were written out either. And, of course, they're married in real life, so I'm sure she probably wasn't all that happy with it. It's just too bad. It felt like there was a lot of potential there for the two of them together to have... Again, with the Wave Rider, with the amount of characters they have, you can have episodes where you isolate on two characters for most of the episode. There were episodes where Sarah's barely in it. There are episodes where Nate's barely around. And it can work, because you have a good, large cast. This is what Flash, I think, wants to be. And Flash has relative success at times with it, but sometimes not so much. But Ray and Nora, I really enjoyed that, and Nora being the fairy godmother, I thought it was funny. Just her in the dress with the wand and the tiara, pretty funny stuff. Considering what Nora Dark had been before and how she'd been this evil person, and of course, when they did get married and her dad comes back as an encore. To hang out with Ray, and he thinks Constantine is the like all of that, where he thought Constantine was the fiance, and then it ends up being Ray, and that episode was so well done, and yet the episode after where they left, I felt was kind of So that's me. That's on me. I understand that's on me. And then the two question marks I have are, so Gideon became kind of a character this year a little bit more, and the avatar of Gideon being seen by Gary while he was in a different mental state. You know what? I could handle Gideon being more of an avatar and having the actress who voices Gideon actually being in the series. Think along the lines of Andromeda, where you had Rami as part of the show. We're going into season 6. Why not? I don't think that would be a bad thing. Yes, it's something that's been done before. You have the Doctor and Voyager as another example, but it can be done. And I think it can be done well, and I think it would give a new layer with Gideon, and then maybe then that would be a way to get Gary onto the ship. Because Gary clearly had some kind of a romantic attraction to Gideon, who was his bunny rabbit, right? Anyways, we don't need to get into that because, Gary, he was in a different mental state at that point. So whether he was actually talking to Gideon or he wasn't, that's the other thing to decide. And Leda, who was the daughter for Mick. I'd like to see her on the Wave Rider. I honestly, I wouldn't mind if they did a Bill and Ted's, where she's like, I have a history exam on Monday, and Mick's like, all right, we're going to take the Wave Rider, we're gonna go out. And of course, he wouldn't tell any of the rest of the crew, just be like, I gotta go get some beer. Taking the daughter, gonna go get some beer off the Wave Rider. And then next thing you know, they're going on an adventure through time. Mick has no idea how to fix anything, and he's just a brute, and his daughter seems to, take to this pretty well. You could have a great episode of just, you could call it Mick and Leda's Excellent Adventure. There you go. I just wrote I wrote an episode for them. Done. And it could be great. And you could produce it for very little money, and you wouldn't need a whole lot of actors in it, and you wouldn't need anybody else, just him and his daughter going on an excellent adventure, and with period appropriate clothing, And you could do that and make it just fantastic. I'd love to see the ratings turn around. Historically, that doesn't happen. I don't anticipate that Legends of Tomorrow is suddenly going to get a huge following in season 6. I hope the CW keeps giving them the opportunity to tell more stories until they say they're done. So if the creators come out this year and say, season 6, we're kind of done, that's fine. We're good. All right. I hope they keep giving them that chance to continue to produce their content, their show, because it's different. And where we do sometimes find with the some of the superhero shows that they can kind of tread on the same material and it kind of feels the same. This one does feel different. And for that reason alone, I think it's worth keeping it around. Because we do need shows that are different. But I'd be interested to know what you guys think in the comment section below. I don't anticipate there being a whole lot of interest in this. Because again, Legends doesn't draw. There's not the ratings. And the least I can do for them is to try to help with that part of it. Because Legends is a fantastic show. And if you haven't watched it, go check it out. Many services have it available. I know it's on Netflix in the States. In Canada, it's on Crave TV, and at least for me, the most current season is on demand. It's still available on demand. So there you go. And if you haven't watched it and you're like, I don't really want to watch the whole thing, you can start with season 4, because season 4 is where they get into the Constantine and the hell stuff and the magical creatures, which leads to more of the hell stuff in season 5. You don't have to watch the first 3 seasons to understand what's going on in seasons 4 and 5. It helps, but if you just want to watch 4 and 5, you can. Let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.